on this whole process, and so that all members of the House can ask questions in the proper manner, because it's simply not satisfactory that you should be meeting in Westminster Hall where only half of it is recorded on camera, the other half, I'm not blaming you for that, but that seems to be the case, when members clearly have very important issues to answer. There's a lot of public out there are very unhappy and very uneasy today and tonight. They need answers, they need reassurance, and above all, they need the support to know that those that have suffered in this fire have got somewhere to go tonight and every other night that's local and is safe, secure, and above all, that they can permanently stay in the community that they love.
Thank you, Jim. Any other colleagues who want to make a contribution to this briefing? No. Okay. Let me try and draw this together and try and give some reassurances as far as I can. First, can I thank the Leader of the House and the parliamentary officials and authorities for facilitating this. It was extremely important that members of Parliament had an opportunity to debate and discuss this national tragedy. And as I said at the top, we must consider it a national tragedy, and that is reflected in the diversity of members of Parliament here representing all parts of the United Kingdom, speaking on behalf of constituencies and reflecting the concerns and anxiety that's out there. That is right and proper. I think it's been I hope you found it a useful event so far, and I thank you for your contribution to it. The discussion we've had did exactly as I expect reflect what John Healey and others quite rightly talked about, the deep, profound shock that we all feel, not just in this House, but across the country, about what has happened, what is playing out across our TV screens. As Jeremy and Andy said, if you've stood at the bottom of that building and looked up, nothing you've seen on the TV can prepare you for what you feel looking up at that devastation and the sense that you feel of the terror that must have been felt during that night, and the quite extraordinary brave protocol breaking bravery of firefighters who went in there. That shock has been and that sadness has been, I think, very well articulated today. David and Jeremy and others have also articulated some of the anger that is out there, which is quite understandable, and to which government needs to listen. And I think this debate has been very important in that respect as well. I think we've also, in very different ways and from different parties and different parts of the country, again placed on record our deep appreciation and respect and gratitude for the emergency service, not just the firefighters working in the most arduous circumstances you can possibly imagine, but also police officers and medics, many of whom first-line responders were at London Bridge, called again to rush towards danger. They don't like us banging on about how great they are, but they are heroes. And it's important that Parliament, representing the people, places that on record. I think I'd say perhaps three things. I think Harriet Harman expressed very powerfully the sense of solidarity that we all feel for those who have lost everything and whose lives have been so devastated by what happened on that fateful night. And it is incumbent upon us all, as members of Parliament in this place, for Parliament to work effectively to hold government and whatever ministers are responsible to account on this journey, because this is not about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. This is a long-term journey of rebuilding lives for people whose lives have been devastated, and it's the responsibility not just of local MPs, but of us all to hold ourselves to account that as events continue to unfold, as Harriet explained very carefully, we know how this place works, that intensity of that sense of solidarity does not diminish. And this is something I will take into the meetings that I'm chairing to bring government together. John, I'm sorry, I'm not cabinet minister as you required. I don't know what the future is, but for the moment I am the Minister for Police, for our service. We're in emergency response mode. That for the moment, the Prime Minister felt it was appropriate for me to chair those meetings. The meeting we had yesterday was extremely constructive. We pushed ourselves very, very hard to be sure that we at the system were absolutely our best. And let me put it like this, and we talked about this with Lynn House, and the view I take and the view I express to my officials and officials of other departments, we have to act and think as if it was our friends, our family in that block. That I have to have that emotional connection with what's going on, because there is no room for cool, detached, plodding bureaucracy at this moment in time. And I give that reassurance as long as I'm chairing that meeting, that is the attitude that we will take. So we were very clear yesterday about the importance of reassurance. The fact that there are so many MPs here from non-London constituents reflect the fact that we all understand there are lots of people living in high-rise buildings in Tower Blacks who will be feeling very nervous. And it is not enough for the Minister for Fire Service to start spouting statistics about how we're all much safer from fire than we were 10 years. That is not enough, because there's no room for that sort of complacency. I completely understand why people need reassurance. It's a point I made, and the point that the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, made very powerfully at the meeting yesterday, which is why we announced what we did, which is the commitment to review buildings that are in a similar phase of refurbishment, because we absolutely understand the need for assurance. And one of the issues we will be discussing at the meeting this afternoon is the process whereby, in each constituency around the country, both the fire brigade, point made, and the local authorities, and those who, in the system of accountability we have for fire safety, are doing their job in asking themselves tough questions about, are we clear enough about the advice that we're receiving, that it's appropriate, and our communication to the people that we're responsible. And that is our responsibility as the committee, to keep asking ourselves very tough questions about that. Alec has talked about the housing challenge, which is a very real one. That will be on the agenda this afternoon, and I hope that following that meeting we will be in a position to make the clearer sort of assurances that Karen and others have sought. Let me close on the inquiry. It's been welcomed. It's important that it's a public inquiry. It's important that it's on that sort of scale. Some of us who've been experienced know, that we are dealing with an extremely complicated situation, complex, that does require a bit of time to get this right. Does require a proper process, that people have their say, and there's no stone unturned, and no one has got places to hide on this. And I think the Prime Minister has made very clear, and I certainly make it clear, that our intention of this government is to leave absolutely no stone unturned on this, because we completely understand the shock, the concern, the anger, the frustration, the fear that is out there. And it is the duty of the government to run a process that reflects that. Now, within that, we have to ask ourselves, and the views of the House will be important, this, what needs to be prioritised. What I would say, I am no fire, I may be the Minister for Fire Service, day two, but I am not an expert on fire. There are experts on fire in this room. What is clear to me, and clear to Jeremy and everyone who's spoken at Fire Service, this was a very unusual fire that we have to understand. And it is, of course, quiet. The statements are all right. This should not happen in Britain, but we have to understand that this appears to have been an unusual fire in its speed and in its direction and in its movement and its behaviour. We have to understand what happened and what caused it, and we do not know. And to David's point before, yes, there are plenty of people of speculating. Our TV screens are full of experts expressing their views, some informed, some less informed. The duty of government is to proceed on behalf of the people on a basis of strong evidence and fact. But I am very clear, and Sadiq also was very clear yesterday, there are some things that we need to prioritise in terms of what we do to get to information about actually what happened here and what we communicate. At the same time, we have to do absolutely everything we can to walk, to use David Lammy's language, to walk alongside the people whose lives have been devastated in this. All I can say is, from my perspective, sitting in that chair, I am satisfied for the moment that the government is pulling together, because we are very aware, to Harriet's point about the central role of government this in terms of supporting people on the front line. I also fully expect that this new Parliament will hold us to account, and that is absolutely right and proper. But the inquiry is the right way to go, but within that we are very clear that we need to move as quickly as possible to get some of those priority answers that are on people to questions that are people in mind, and that we leave no stone unturned in this process. And we need to be fully accountable for that. And I would give that reassurance to Jeremy Corbyn's last point about parliamentary procedure. I'll take guidance from the Leader of the House, but I don't. Yeah. Sorry, Clive. That was implicit, so I should have made it more explicit. Every conversation I've had with the emergency services or with the leader of the local authority, my question is, what do you need? And, you know, the moment demands that there should be no, that our commitment should be total to supporting those people. We understood completely the need for reassurance about buildings. People need to know they're safe in their buildings. So therefore, that was the action that we committed to yesterday. And we're just working through with the Department for Community and Local Government and the Fire Brigade what the resource requirements of that. But we are no doubt about the need to do it. As I said yesterday, resources aren't the issue here. What's at issue is the need to hold together behind a process that is going to give us the answers to the many tough questions that quite rightly the people are asking. It's our responsibility as a government, but as a parliament, to make sure the process that we're about to start delivers on that and does not leave people frustrated at the end of the process. Rosie, yeah.
Just wondered, would it be possible for you to send us the advice or requests that are being made of local authorities in terms of, and fire authorities perhaps, in terms of what they're asking local authorities to do, so that we know that as well?
Rosie, thank you for making that point, because actually I should have made, we've all got a role in our own constituencies to work alongside and sometimes challenge those who, within the system of accountability we've got, to make sure that they're doing their job, but also that they have the opportunity to feed back into us some of the questions, anxieties, operational problems that they may have. And you know, obviously there are government systems to do that, but we all know from our experience as MPs that sometimes as constituencies MPs we can get into the weeds and ask questions. And I would hope that parliamentarians across all parties will do that on behalf of their constituents, but also make sure that that's fed back in to the government through formal processes of questions and statements, but also perhaps informally as well in writing to me or the relevant ministers, to make sure that we're as super informed as possible about what is actually happening on the ground. Because you know, as ministers, sometimes it's quite hard to know.
Just specifically in terms of the whole issue around resources, can I just be absolutely clear and reiterate what Nick has said, is that we're going to be working with the local authority, and the government will guarantee that every single family from Grenfell House will be rehoused in the local area. That is a very clear reassurance which I hope colleagues will feel is useful.
Good. Well, that's a very positive note on which to end, and I see Karen and Emma nodding there. So that's a significant commitment, as you know, given the... Yep.
Just say yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Well, really interesting contributions from MPs. Of course, the parliamentary process of swearing in still underway, so not a traditional setting within Parliament for that question and answer session involving Nick Hurd, the Police and Fire Minister. Even as you can see, the hose is still playing on the lower portions of Grenfell House there. We could see some actual orange flame licking at the window frames there a few moments ago. So the fire is still, in parts of the building, still raging would be to overstate it, but certainly still guttering in parts of Grenfell House. Nick Hurd there, the Fire Minister, coincidentally the son of Douglas Hurd, the former Foreign Secretary in the British government, saying, amongst other things, there was no room now, as he put it, for plodding bureaucracy. Everybody in government had to act, he said, as if it was their own family members who had been trapped